On July 6th, the Thunder officially signed Isaiah Hartenstein, by far the biggest true free agent deal they've ever made. The fit made a lot of sense then. Rebounding, defense, rim protection, good passer, roll and lob threat, complementary player, age alignment at 26 years old, and on and on. But now that we've seen it, and we had to wait very patiently for that, by the way, it really makes a lot of sense. Hartenstein doesn't fit, he amplifies. Let's take a quick look at why. First, the passing. Whew, the passing. It was obvious from the first few minutes Hartenstein played this season that he is a natural ball mover, a true floor connector. A major part of the Thunder offensive ideology is in advantages and decision-making and how timely those are. Either shoot it, drive it, or pass it, and make up your mind on that quickly and decisively. And with Hartenstein, he isn't necessarily a driver or shooter, at least in the traditional sense, but he amplifies those two elements with his passing. Here's what I mean. Isaiah Joe is one of OKC's best at drive, shoot, pass. And we see it all the time where the ball hits Hartenstein and Joe is now playing his advantage off of Hartenstein, whether that's through a screen or a pass. Same with J-Dub, same with Cason Wallace or Aaron Wiggins. There are so many of these mini two-man games with him. He averages the most passes per game to J-Dub at almost 15 a game. Next is SGA at around 12, then Isaiah Joe at almost 6, then Cason Wallace right behind that. Hartenstein averages almost 50 total passes a game, which is a huge number for a big, right at the top of the league, alongside guys like Nikola Jokic and Bam Adebayo. Known gifted passers. Hartenstein does it with dribble handoffs, sometimes between the legs with a rescreen, or bridging the floor from the elbows, or with his tight window bounce passes on back cuts. He sees the floor like a guard and understands angles. He averages 5.5 elbow touches a game, 7th in the NBA, which is where OKC finds him a lot after a screen, in the pocket with his decision-making in front of him with a pass, a drive, or a shot. And it may not seem like it, but Hartenstein is a terrific mid-range shooter, we'll call it.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
From 10 to 14 feet, he's at almost 60% on the season, and from 5 to 9 feet, he's over 65%, and shot 57.5% from that range last season. He does it with a lethal, quick-release, high-arcing floater that lands on the rim with the delicacy of a snowflake falling to the ground. It's such an unusual weapon from a guy his size because it allows him to stop some of his rolls short and play in the pocket. And with his passing ability, defenders are wary of him firing off a dart to a cutting teammate or a shooter spotted up weak side, so it gives him that extra little bit of space for his floater. And then of course, he's a lob threat, which is a connection that's building, especially with Dub. Dub is a midi master with pull-ups and floaters himself, which chains defenders to him, but also puts them in a defensive dilemma of no man's land where it's cat and mouse as Hartenstein rolls to the bucket behind him. And already, Hartenstein is near the top of the league in screen assists per game, an added element to OKC this season. He's at over 4.5 a game, creating more than 10 points a game just off his screens. The best on OKC's team last season was Chet at 2.1 screen assists a game, which produced 4.5 points. Whether it's Dub or SGA getting downhill because of a bruising Hartenstein screen, or him carving a look from 3 for Isaiah Joe or Cason Wallace, he's creating space for OKC's decision makers to make quick decisions. Then there's the more traditional things, like rebounding and rim protection. Hartenstein is #1 in the league in contested defensive rebounds, and is grabbing almost 3 offensive rebounds a game. For reference, last season, OKC averaged 8.8 offensive rebounds a game as a team. So it's not just his offensive rebounds though. It's him battling the opposing big, like a defensive lineman taking on a blocker so his middle linebacker can make a tackle for him. or tipping a rebound so one of OKC's ball hawks can swoop in for it. It's no coincidence that individual offensive rebounds are up for players across the board on the team almost, like Cason Wallace, or Lou Dort, or Isaiah Joe, and Aaron Wiggins, which means extra possessions for OKC, which equals good. Because, if you didn't remember, OKC's offense is really, really good. It's been a relatively small sample so far, but the first 7 games for Hartenstein, he had 5 double-doubles. 6 games of those were in double figures rebounding. There are 5 players in the league so far this season averaging at least 10 rebounds and 4 assists. Jokic, Giannis, Sabonis, Şengün, and Hartenstein. The Thunder said all along last season that they understood the trade-offs they were making in not being a great rebounding team for other areas, but also acknowledged they wanted to be better at it. And Hartenstein has definitely made them better at it. They were trending up before he returned this season, but now with him, OKC is middle in the league in rebounding after ranking 27th last season. The Thunder are still playing small some in non-Hartenstein minutes, and it's still very effective. And when Chet returns later this season, they can stagger the bigs, or they could go small for a curveball, or they could play double big, which we got a small taste of in the preseason. It's all on the table for OKC. There's no roster in the NBA that is more adaptable or more pliable than the Thunder's. And with an amplifying fit like Hartenstein, who has made the Thunder better in so many areas, adding a compounding effect to lineups with other combinations. Like any Thunder player, he can play with anybody at any time because he can do pretty much anything.